Hello, reflectors. 1%? Is it 1% of the population, Danielle?
Yeah, a little bit more than 1%. Yeah. All right. So let's bang through this and get into everything for the reflectors. So yeah, like we said, reflectors are a very small percentage of the population, but when you look at the whole of how many people on the planet, that's still quite a lot of people on the planet. So yeah, you guys are definitely a very different, I almost want to say species, but very different type of being, right? So the other types we've talked about are really solar beings, and you're a lunar being. So if you've just found out that you're a reflector, it can be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of questions now that I have, and where do I go with this? And it's exciting, you know, what does this all mean, right? So it's really interesting working with reflectors and understanding them. Anytime I've been around a reflector or doing readings for reflectors, even just now talking about it, I'm getting surprised. I'm getting excited. I'm getting activated. And that really is what you're looking for with your energy signature, because you're almost like this being that's going around that has all these keys, right? All of these little gifts that when you're with certain people, it like connects and links up with them and activates them. Or on the other side of it, it can drain and deplete, right? If we're not in alignment. So you want to follow surprise, and the disappointment or the draining, the disappointment, all of that is the out of alignment or the not self, right? So we look at both of these and we learn from them, because reflectors are really containers of wisdom. All your centers are what we call open. So if you look on your chart, they're all white, and make sure you definitely double check your birth time. And they're all white. So it's like you have all these windows where you're receiving information from other people, from the planets, from animals, and everything around you that you're experiencing, right? So even Kim and I were talking about this a second ago, where you're not wishy-washy, right? But you're a different person, or you're experiencing as a different energy every day. And when we can get into alignment, understand this, you have the ability to access unique wisdom, right? Unique consciousness, and create and bring into the world possibilities. So reflectors are really here to bring in what maybe we didn't think was possible, right? So it's very important. So how do you get into alignment with that, right? If your strategy is to wait for a lunar cycle before you decide, right? All this is about decision making. So you don't want to be spontaneous, right? You're open, you're receiving all this information, you're not being spontaneous. You're going around, you're communicating with people, and you're seeing all these keys and how it's activating. You're following the surprise. Wow, this is really different. This is interesting. This is surprising, not disappointing. Then, and you're following that, then you're able to have this wisdom, right? Sometimes they say that reflectors are like the oracle, or you would be one of the first people in a group that would know of a possibility that no one else could see, and potentially too what could go wrong that no one else could see. So you can see how valuable that is, because as you're getting into alignment with that, you're waiting the lunar cycle, which is about 29 and a half days. You want to wait a month between your decisions, so you can go connect and see the process of that decision and then decide. You're going to really be in this surprising state of life and activating people in yourself throughout the process. So it's really not about, knowing the other, even though, yes, you're very open, you have a Teflon, more resistant aura, doesn't make you more vulnerable. You're sampling, right? You're sampling all these different combinations of codes from all these different people, because everyone's so different. You're taking them in, right? So you're like, wow, what is this? So that can really be converted into this wisdom and its interaction with other people, which is really beautiful. So when it comes down to it, it's really follow your surprise, follow the strategy of waiting the lunar cycle, right? Notice what's disappointing in your life. And then notice too where your placement is, okay? Because the reflector, if we were to draw a chart of all the types, right, the 4 types, and kind of have some sort of structure around what it would look like, the reflector would be placed in the middle of everyone else, right? So you're in the middle, everything else is going out around you. So you're experiencing, and over time, you're getting all this information that you can share with us. So notice, where is your placement? You know, even in a room, if you have a crowded room, where are you, right? And the place in your life, your environment is very, very super, super important. Because you are a reflector, you take in and then you like reflect out. You're kind of like the canary in the coal mine, right? So you're like a barometer of what's going on in that energy in that place. So rather than identifying with that and going, oh, this is me. No, this is, whoa, what is this showing you? Now you can be very valuable to the group because you're no longer identified with all that energy, but you're seeing it, you're experiencing it. Is it surprising? Where's the disappointment? Who are the people in your life, right? Where are you? Do you like where you live? Because you're like almost like an environmental empath where you're taking in all of that energy and information. So this would be how you can start to practice really being and embodying a reflector. And as you get into this alignment, as you start to realize how sensitive you are, not vulnerable, but you're able to take in information that other people aren't taking in. It's a purity of, in a sense. Then you start to access your unique view of it, your unique systems with it and consciousness with it. And that's really a beautiful process. You're almost learning more from there's so many words I want to say. It could be system, matrix, the Maya, the illusion, the life, right? The existence. Your like life and existence is really teaching you a lot. And that's a purity that you're receiving that you can share with others. So it's really being in tune with what's going on around you. And not being spontaneous, waiting out that lunar cycle. And then eventually, you know, if you want to keep going with this, you'll want to learn more about this system so that you can see who you are as a pattern that repeats. And this does get a little bit more advanced, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, being a reflector is awesome. So happy you're here and that you found this information. This is going to change your life, and get ready to be surprised.
Okay, I love this, and I love talking to reflectors. I have quite a few in my organization that I find that there's a running theme of, well, who am I then? Well, what am I then? Like, right. And it's like, actually, you're just a being of surprise, like taking it all in, like just, it's like just being so exposed. You know, they just get to sample everything. And I think whenever we can see the beauty of our design specifically, and we're liberated. We're liberated from all of the things we've been taught. So if the whole world's been taught, you got to push, you got to go, you got to manifest, you need to do this, you can imagine, like I think about the projectors and the reflectors being affected by this so much, you know, because they are so open. And I wanted to ask you a question of that, because that is something that quite a few of my clients have asked me, is the sleeping alone. Like if they are feeling really confused or exhausted or depleted, that if maybe sleeping alone or going out into nature would be a way to kind of cleanse those open centers. You know, could we give them a little bit more on that? Because that's a question that I get a lot from reflectors. Yeah. Some come in just completely drained, like physically not feeling good. And it could be their environment. It could be that they don't realize this about themselves. And so they're just like a sponge and just taking in everyone around them. And so they're taking in that exhaustion from other people and that, you know, that pushing and forcing. Could you talk to that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sleeping alone and taking more alone time is very important for reflectors and some other types too. And yeah, it is important to clear out all these windows, right? That you're taking in this information. Reflectors are really a key to like global consciousness, right? So as you get more into alignment with this and what we were saying with the strategy and not being spontaneous, and then recognizing the surprise versus the drainage and the disappointment, you're going to direct yourself with that energy of surprise. And when you see the drainage, you might also need to, at those moments, like, okay, I need to be by myself. I need to, okay, maybe this environment's not correct for me. Maybe these people aren't correct for me. Let me just take some time and process. But yeah, definitely sleeping alone as well is very important. And sometimes when we talk about that, because of society and culture and traditions, it can be a little bit like, oh, that doesn't feel good. I have a husband or I have a wife or I'm, whatever. And that is something that, you know, if you're feeling drained, just try it for a night or two, right?
Right.
And
Just everything that we're saying, just try it.
yeah,
I want to repeat all of this so you can get kind of make sure we're going in the right path. But reflectors are 1%. They are lunar beings. That is what's making them different. And their actual signature is surprise. Like even with themselves, like, who am I today? What is going on today? What's going on? Let's go get a taste of this. I'm going to go there and see what it feels like. And really trusting what you feel, what you experience. And if you're feeling disappointed, then, check in with your environment, check in with what's going on. They are here to receive and experience all beings, like the animals, the plants, the work, like they're just here to experience it all and being okay with being different every day. And so I was going to ask you when I finish these, if you can kind of give some feedback of what would be a solution for them feeling pressured about that needing to be the same every day kind of thing, instead of like really tapping into that. And so they do have a more resistant aura. And notice what is disappointment and notice what your placement is. Like notice that your position is being placed in the middle and it's to gather from all angles. And even asking or noting like the part about, hold on, is this me? This is not me. What is this? Like really pausing and recognizing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why too, all the white centers, right? So you are under a lot of pressure, with the spleen to be spontaneous, your throat to get attention, your heart to prove yourself, the solar plexus to not rock the boat, right? Avoid confrontation, the ajna to be certain, the head center trying to answer questions, the root trying to initiate, I'm trying to figure this out, or the G center, figuring out who you are. So you're under all this pressure because most of your life you may have felt confused or invisible. And so these are all those things I just mentioned. You might try to do those things as a way to find out who you are or to not be invisible, right? And this is why it's so important to get this information, because now you know your role. You know actually how to use what may have been something that really pained you, like, oh, they don't see me, or I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where I'm going, to being this like really valuable being in the group that can benefit everyone. And stop creating disappointment too, right? So you're not like attaching yourself to people or things anymore. And it's just you're letting the windows and the information go through the windows. You're observing the mind, you're observing the patterns, and not being spontaneous, all these things we talked about. And you're going to start to see what really comes in for you, for your unique gifts as a reflector and for your consciousness. So I'm not sure if that answered the question.
I think so. So, and what just came to me is like the spontaneous and surprise. So like the surprise comes when you stop being so spontaneous, when you stop going and doing all of the conditioned stuff. That's where the surprises can come. And so I would just like offer, are you willing to trust? How can I be surprised today? And just notice, what is the conditioning? What is the pressure? When you feel pressured, when you feel kind of like, this is, I guess the other thing is, because of the waiting the 30 days, that there are people of the world who need an answer, right? Who want an answer. And, that's what I wanted to give them as the solution for that. And I'm answering my own question. It's trust.
Yep.
I trust in the lunar cycle. I trust that these beings do not function like me, and I trust the way that I function, and no opportunity that's not meant to be will not come back around. Like, just here's another thing, Danielle, I was reading and studying on is like actually when like that whole 30-day cycle and what's going to kind of happen at that 30th day is the surprise.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. And it's really that whole process, it's when we talk about alchemy, and people have heard of that word, it's that the whole 30 days is like you're alchemizing, it's like, ooh, this is like all coming to an understanding now. But
I love these beings. I have a client that I message pretty regularly, like, hey, what's going on in the container? What are you experiencing? What's happening with me? Like, what are you feeling? It's like, I love our designs being so unique.
Don't try to be like somebody else, not self. Reflector is very homogenized. It's very like, I'm trying to do what everyone else is doing. And
Is that where the
No.
confusion is coming from? Because so many systems are telling them what to do and they're taking it all in. And then so they're just trying to grabbing, hodgepodging
And people, and people that, let's say that they're not even into any of this kind of stuff, and they're just, out in the corporate world or whatever. And so they're maybe trying to be really hard workers, and they're draining themselves, and it's just creating all this disappointment and not feeling seen and all of that. So don't try to be like anyone else. Embrace your uniqueness. Experiment with this for 1 month, right? Don't believe it. Just do it for 1 month. Like, don't initiate. Try to be more receptive. Follow the surprise energy. Notice the disappointment. Notice where you are, and notice the people that you're around, and use that as navigation. And anything mental that's coming in that's like, I need to do this, to do that, and then I'm gonna do this in my life, and that, just put that on hold. It's still gonna keep going, and we watch it, and then you just let your life come to you and notice where you're placed.
Alrighty, guys. Sorry, I was on mute. That's what we got for you, reflectors. Go out and be surprised. I'm willing to be surprised. That could be your new mantra. Try it for 30 days. All right.